She returned to the University of Ilorin for her postgraduate diploma in education from 1988 to 1990 and was conferred with a master's degree in special education by the University of Birmingham in 1993. She was admitted to the degree of Masters in Chemistry of the University of Ilorin in 2007 and Doctor of Philosophy in Special Need Education of the University of Birmingham in 2017. Special Need Education, which is the core mandate of the Federal College of Education, Special Oyo. Dr. Sariat was employed initially as assistant lecturer in the Department of Integrated Science at the Federal College of Education, Special Oyo, in 1988. She rose 2 ranks to become chief lecturer in the year 2013. She served the college in many academic and administrative capacities. She was the head of Department of Integrated Science 2000 to 2003, the capacity for which she served for about 2 consecutive years, or tenure rather. She was chairperson of the School of Science Examination Committee and as well house mistress for Hostel F. She was a member of the School of Science Public Lecture Committee between 1998 and 2023. Dr. Sariat attended and presented scholarly papers at various academic conferences across Nigeria, Africa, and the United Kingdom. She has published a research report on inclusive STEM education in reputable journals within Nigeria and outside the soil of Nigeria. This led to her attracting so many scholarship and readership as well as citations. As evidence in her presence, which are present on Google Scholar, notable among her publications are Making Mathematics and Science Accessible to Persons with Blindness, Empowering BVI Students in Mathematics, and so on. Although the foundation for her pioneering work on development of low-cost and accessible resources for mathematics and science education for learners living with blindness and visual impairment was done at the University of Birmingham in the United Kingdom. Her innovations include tactile STEM and board, accessible diagrams, as well as assistive software. All these are meant for the learning and training of persons with blindness. Dr. Sariat Adelakun is a member of several professional bodies. These include Science Teacher Association of Nigeria, National Association of Special Education Teachers, Women in Colleges of Education. Up with greatest with. Among the professions which Dr. Ajibola Sariat belong is also Special Need Teachers Association of Nigeria. Dr. Sariat was one of the people who established the Aununla as well as Science and Technology for Persons with Special Needs initiative. She organized community hearing screening, computer and embosser training for persons with visual impairment, fostering international collaboration. She is also the founder of Initiative English Remediation for students in Nigeria, which deliver free education, free English language training support for schools all over the country, Nigeria. Dr. Sariat Adelakun is a devout Muslim. She has served this body of Islam in various capacities, ranging from the Muslim Students Association or Society rather of Nigeria, the Muslim Association of Nigeria and the United Kingdom, NACOMIO, and Muslim Community of the Federal College of Education Special Oyo. As earlier said, Dr. Sariat Adelakun was a pillar among the founders of Aununla Islamic Cooperative, a free interest cooperative at Federal College of Education Special Oyo, and as well founder of Adegbola Amza Foundation, a Sadaqatul Jariyah initiative in honor of our father. For the benefit of some of our colleagues or listeners who are here, what we call Sadaqatul Jariyah is a sort of goodwill that you will reap the benefit from this world till your encounter with your Lord. May God bless Dr. Sariat. Through this foundation, that is Adegbola Hamza Foundation, she has organized Braille Quran workshops in more than 10 states and outside Nigeria, including Ghana and the United Kingdom, with free distribution of Braille Quran and other Islamic books. She continued to serve as matron to several Islamic societies in Nigeria and the United Kingdom. Dr. Sariat Ajibola Adelakun is blessed with a daughter, biological, and several children who are not biological. May the Lord Almighty bless what we are going to listen from her today. Thank you all. By the power conferred on me by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Alhaji Tinubu, I hereby declare this inaugural lecture at Federal College of Education Special Oyo opened. Well, same by the power conferred on me as the provost, of the Federal College of Education, Special Oyo, inshallah, I hereby invite Dr. Sariat Adelakun to deliver a lecture.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. The Provost, sir, Deputy Provost, the Registrar, the Librarian, the Bursar, Dean School of Secondary Education Science Programs, Deans of other schools, Dean of Students, Academic Directors, Chief Lecturers and other members of the Academic Board, Head of Department of Integrated Science, Heads of other academic departments, esteemed spiritual fathers, Your Royal Majesties and Highnesses, distinguished academics and professional colleagues, esteemed non-teaching staff, administrative and technical, members of my family, nuclear and extended, my dear friends and relatives, invited guests, members of professional associations, great students of the college, present and past, distinguished persons with special educational needs, gentlemen of the print and electronic media, distinguished guests, respected ladies and gentlemen. Alhamdulillah. Mr. Provost, sir, I'm deeply honored by your gracious approval for this inaugural lecture, and by the privilege to stand before this distinguished audience to deliver this inaugural lecture today. Before delving into the substance of my lecture titled In Pursuit of STEM Accessibility for All, I would like to briefly share my story, my educational journey from primary school to higher education, a journey that has shaped my convictions and fueled my passion for my academic inclination. Through this lecture, I aim to share lessons and reflections drawn from these experiences in the hope that they will be both meaningful, thought-provoking, and stir us all up for action in Ubuntu spirit. Mr. Provost, sir, I was born in the early 1960s into the family of Alhaji Amsa Agbola Adegbola and the late Alhaji Mulika Adeyinka Adegbola at Ebu House, Iyaji, Oyo. My educational journey began with significant challenges, as I was initially denied admission to primary school because of a serious health condition that affected my physical growth. However, in 1970, I was turned away from primary school because I could not touch my ear, a test used then to determine readiness for school. Although it was a deeply painful experience for my father, yet his determination and my mother's perseverance ensured I eventually received an education. In 1971, I was enrolled at Alaafin School in Oyo. This early chapter of my life taught me invaluable lessons in resilience and faith. Indeed, what is destined by Allah will surely come to pass. As the hadith reminds us, O Allah, there is none who can withhold what you give, and the word does not avail them against you. Buhari. And others facing similar struggles, never lose hope. Draw strength from the faith and from example of my supportive parents. In 1976, I began my secondary education at Ansarudin High School, Shaki. My father was determined that I receive a sound education in a Muslim school, even enduring great hardship, including sleeping overnight in his broken down car on the way to Shaki. His sacrifices bore fruit, and this commitment allowed me not only to succeed, but also to support my siblings' education. However, my time in boarding school was challenging. As a small but outspoken girl, often called small girl by seniors. I faced harsh treatment, frequent beating and punishment. My father intervened, transferring me back to Oyo, where I continued at Charitable Grammar School, Oyo, from 1977 to 1981. My father's unwavering dedication was evident in every decision he made. When I needed to get a GCE form in Form 4, he went to extraordinary length to secure it, even sleeping overnight at the WAEC office in Ijokodo to ensure I could register. I will forever cherish his sacrifices. In 1981, my WAEC examination experience underscored the dangers of examination malpractice. Some subjects were cancelled that year because supervisors found live questions with certain students. My English result was cancelled, a setback that meant few students from our set gained admission to university that year. Yet, I'm proud to say that the 1981 class of Charitable Grammar School, Great Ladi 81, remains a trailblazing set in our alma mater history. Mr. Provost, sir, I share these stories to honor my father's extraordinary commitment. He not only defied societal norms that undervalue girls' education through stereotyping, but also demonstrated that every child, regardless of gender, deserves equal opportunity, care, and support. As I reflect on these experiences, I hope to inspire others to champion education for all children and challenge any barriers, cultural or systemic, that stand in their way. My journey through university was filled with remarkable experiences and defining moments. By Allah's grace, I was admitted into the chemistry department at the University of Ilorin in 1982. Then during my 400 level first semester, I encountered a serious academic challenge and it dragged my CGPA down to a third class degree. Just half a point below second class honors division. I was devastated and confided in my father, who as always gave me comfort and strength. He reassured me, saying, by the grace of Allah, this will not hinder your success. Allah will take you higher than you imagine. His faith strengthened me. Alhamdulillah. My NYSC year. Upon graduation, I was posted to the former Ondo State for my National Youth Service Corps. I was deployed to United CAC High School, Akure, where I performed all my assigned duties. In addition, I voluntarily taught Islamic studies at the Federal Government Girls College, Akure. Around this time, the World Assembly of Muslim Youth, WAMI, learned of my effort using my 200 naira NYSC allowance to travel around Akure, making benches, teaching Muslim children both Islamic knowledge and academic lessons. Impressed by this commitment, WAMI covers those expenses for me. As my service here drew to a close, I traveled to Lagos to work on securing an Islamic studies teacher for FGGC Akure. This opportunity brought me closer to the then WAMI African representative and broadened my network. When I learned that the Federal College of Education Special Oyo was recruiting, I informed my contacts in Lagos and I was introduced to Professor Gwandu, late Professor Gwandu, who at that time was the Director of Higher Education in Nigeria, overseeing all universities, polytechnics, and colleges of education before the establishment of NUC, NCCE, and other regulatory bodies. He facilitated my employment to the Federal College of Education Special Oyo. I share this story not merely to reminisce, but to highlight that hard work and dedication pay off. It was my commitment during NYSC, going beyond assigned duties and demonstrating initiative, that opened the door for my career at this great institution. Gender victimization. I did not plan to teach. I dream of working in the industry. My father secured me an interview at the Nigerian Bottling Company. However, I was turned away simply because the company did not employ women in the quality control section. Kí la ṣe? Kí lobìnrin ṣe? Why deny opportunities based on gender? Disappointed but undeterred, I returned to Akure and began managing a nursery and primary school for an organization. Despite having no formal training in education, determined to excel. I visited well-established schools in Lagos, Ibadan, and Ilorin, observing their practices closely, asking questions, and collecting their curricula. I processed all the information, designed a comprehensive school curriculum. Alhamdulillah, that school founded on a firm foundation laid over 35 years ago continues to thrive to this day, a testament to perseverance, innovation, and commitment. My career at FC Special Oyo. I began my career at Federal College of Education Special Oyo in 1988 as an assistant lecturer, with Mr. Nurain Giwa as the pioneer head of department, and later Dr. Mrs. Giwa Oluwakanyisolami as our emeritus HOD. However, my career journey was not without serious challenges. In 1997, when I was due for promotion, a letter arrived from the National Commission for Colleges of Education stating that lecturers with relevant master's degree should not be promoted beyond lecturer 1. This directive coincided with my promotion year. I was denied advancement. Ultimately, I registered for a second master's degree at the University of Ilorin, and only after earning that degree in 2007, after 10 long years stuck at the rank of lecturer 1, was I finally promoted. Alhamdulillah. If you are affected by similar situation, don't allow yourself to develop hypertension or stroke. You can get anywhere beyond any injustice done to you. What shaped my research focus? Early in my career, I noticed that students with special educational needs were absent from STEM programs. This observation inspired my focus on STEM accessibility. The experience strengthened my resolve to fight for equity, inclusion, and access. It should not be seen as a personal one. It's a call to action. We must break down the barriers that hinder education, particularly in STEM fields, for the blind, the deaf, as well as other students with special needs in Nigeria. In this lecture, I will examine these challenges, share my contributions to addressing them, and highlight future directions to ensure that every child is given the opportunity to thrive. While working on my master's dissertation under the UNESCO Birmingham program, I investigated the inclusion of science students in science education in southwestern Nigeria. I found that many schools had empty resource rooms, and teachers lacked training in STEM instruction for BVI students. Consequently, these capable students were often forced to art classes despite their interest and aptitude in science and mathematics. In a subsequent master's dissertation at the University of Ilorin, I developed STEM resources adapted for BVI, blind and visually impaired students. One notable experience was teaching with the adapted periodic table, where BVI students often outperform their sighted peers. This success strengthened my commitment to improving STEM accessibility. Defining the context, policy, and act. Inclusive education is a global imperative. International framework, such as the Individual with Disability Education Act in the United States and the United Nations on the rights of persons with disability, advocate that all learners, regardless of disability, have the right to education tailored to their needs. In Nigeria, several policies and legislative framework have been implemented to advance the education of persons with disabilities. A landmark initiative was the establishment of our college, the Federal College of Education Special Oyo, in 1977, aimed at training teachers to ensure inclusive education and equal opportunities for all learners. There are so many disability-related policies in Nigeria. Amongst them are discrimination against persons with disability, Universal Basic Education Act 2004, National Policy on Inclusive Education, and the recently signed into bill discrimination against persons with disability, which was signed into law on 23rd January 2019. Surprisingly, these laws and policies provide a strong legal foundation. Yet, despite these frameworks, many persons with blindness and deafness remain excluded from STEM fields, which are critical for national development global competitiveness, and access to scholarship and career opportunities, such as those provided by Petroleum Development Trust Fund and Tertiary Education Trust Fund. This situation raises pressing questions. 1. Why are blind and deaf students often excluded from high-demand fields? Why discourage them from pursuing well-paid careers that can transform their life? Why provide support in primary and secondary school only to abandon them at the tertiary level? Why waive mathematics requirement in admission when mathematical knowledge is essential for informed decision making? Why deny access to basic science and technology subjects taught from primary school that prepare students for life? Why should students who develop vision or hearing impairment during their STEM studies face expulsion, frustration, and depression? And ultimately, why do these laws and policies exist if blind and deaf learners are still largely unsupported in STEM education? So these questions highlight a critical gap between policy and practice and underscore the urgent need for strategies that ensure equitable access to STEM education for learners regardless of ability. Government provision. Nigerian government deserves commendation for allocating 2% of the consolidated revenue annually to support special education resources. This initiative aims to provide equal education opportunities for all children, regardless of physical, sensory, mental, psychological, or emotional disability. However, more attention must be given to ensuring access to STEM education. Government and donor support should prioritize modern practical tools and other STEM-specific resources, some of which will be demonstrated in this lecture. I propose a concerted strategic effort to expand access to STEM education for visually impaired and hearing impaired students in Nigeria. This is not only a national issue but a global one, as STEM field drive innovation, economic growth, and competitiveness in today's technological landscape. In the course of this lecture, I will identify the key challenges that limit STEM accessibility for blind and deaf students. 2. Share my research findings and contributions in addressing these challenges. And C. Highlight opportunities for collaboration to ensure equitable access to STEM education in Nigeria. Now addressing the needs of hearing impaired students in STEM education. Hearing impaired students suffer some of the highest failure rates among their peers, not only in STEM but across all disciplines. The challenges they encounter are often rooted in profound communication barriers, which are further compounded by the scarcity of accessible resources and specialized sign language vocabulary. Globally, of these barriers, the 2022-25 SEAL project and the ASL Aspire launched in 2024. My Nigeria STEM Access project is also part of the global effort. My research contribution on hearing impairment. My research has focused extensively on understanding and addressing the challenges of hearing impaired students. Adelakun and Adi 2000 explore the communication barriers that deaf children experience within their families and communities. Adelakun and Okoro 2003 work on technological innovation in teaching science to hearing impaired. This research highlighted how interpreters often spell out words that lack corresponding sign, causing delays and fragmented understanding as lecturers move ahead while students are still decoding. The result is incomplete comprehension, a major contribution to high failure rate in STEM courses for hearing impaired learners. Adelakun and Adi 2005 worked on a titled Expanding Educational Opportunities for Hearing Impaired Students through Computer-Assisted Instruction. This demonstrated that technology can significantly improve academic performance. Adelakun and Absalam 2018 investigate the causes of learning challenges in hearing impaired students, particularly in mathematics and sciences. We identified the lack of specialized STEM vocabulary in sign language as a critical barrier that proposed workshop to develop STEM specific science to enhance comprehension and access for deaf learners. These studies collectively underscore the urgent need for innovative approaches adapted curricula, and specialized sign language resources to ensure that hearing impaired students can fully participate in and succeed in STEM education. To address this issue, we propose and sought funding for a workshop to develop sign language for STEM subjects, aiming to improve access and understanding for deaf students, and trying to make sure that Nigerians should not only remain users of findings from other countries, we can also originate. So we developing sign language for scientific terminologies. So it's a major challenge for deaf students in STEM education is the absence of standardized sign language for scientific terms. Science is filled with complex terminologies, symbols, and abbreviations that often have no direct signs. So teachers, students, and interpreters frequently resort to ad hoc sign, finger spelling, or lengthy verbal explanation, which can be confusing and exhausting. In specialized fields, interpreters may lack sufficient subject knowledge, further complicating communication. This contributes significantly to dropout and failure rate among deaf students pursuing STEM discipline. So to address this gap, I pioneered the development of STEM-specific sign language in Nigeria with funding from the UK charity and in collaboration with my non-governmental organization, the Science and Technology for Nigeria Persons with Special Needs Initiative. I organized a 3-day workshop at the National Resource Center for the Disabled within our college. The workshop brought together participants from 24 states in Nigeria, including interpreters from primary, secondary, and tertiary institutions and other stakeholders. The commitment of participants was extraordinary. They began sessions at 7 a.m. and continued until 8 p.m. over the 3 days to show the need, the sign language Science STEM app. It is with great pride that I introduce my latest project, Science STEM app. So Science STEM is a sign language application meticulously designed to serve as a dictionary of computer and STEM terms. The app is tailored specifically for the hearing impaired, empowering them to grasp complex technical vocabulary through intuitive sign language translation and interactive learning modules. Key features of STEM app is a comprehensive sign language dictionary covering computer science and STEM terminology. By launching Science STEM, I aim to bridge the communication gap in STEM education and open doors for the hearing impaired to pursue careers and research in computer science and STEM and beyond. This initiative is a testament to our commitment as educators and innovators to ensure that no voice, however silent, is left unheard in the pursuit of scientific discovery. Let Science STEM be a beacon of inclusion, a tool for empowerment, and a symbol of our unwavering dedication to accessible education. Together, let us build a future where every hand, every mind, and every heart can contribute to the advancement of science and technology. The newly developed Science STEM language has been accessible via the Google Play Store, providing a practical resource for teachers, interpreters, and students. Mr. Provost, sir, I'm actively seeking sponsors to expand dissemination across Nigeria and beyond, ensuring that hearing impaired students can access STEM education more effectively and inclusively. I urge my academic colleagues to embrace technology in teaching. Consider a hearing impaired student receiving PowerPoint lecture notes ahead of class. During the lecture, these notes can be displayed on the screen or student phone if they have, allowing the student to follow along at their own pace. This approach not only supports deaf students but also enhances the learning experience for all students. Our existing internet facilities and computer systems are already sufficient to support this approach. A centralized login system for staff and students will be a small investment relative to the infrastructure already in place and aligned with the Nigerian government's digital transformation agenda. Using such a system, we can fully utilize our e-library and encourage students to access academic resources instead of non-educational content. This will direct them from the market to the library. require lecturers to upload PowerPoint presentation to the student portal. Integrating IT into lecture delivery as expected condition for accreditation of our courses. So we should monitor usage to identify departments and students who engage most with digital resources and encouraging responsible use and academic success. In countries with advanced internet system, users must register before accessing network, even when moving between locations. Implementing a similar system here will promote discipline, responsible usage, and data collection for research purposes. Addressing challenges in STEM education for the visually impaired. Before highlighting my research and contribution, it is important to examine the challenges faced by students with visual impairment in accessing STEM education. Understanding these challenges not only clarifies the impact of my work, but also identifies opportunities for collaboration and areas where further research is urgently needed. This discussion aims to guide government agencies, policymakers, and tertiary institutions in adopting evidence-based practices and making meaningful adjustments. Ultimately, it underscores that well-intentioned policies alone cannot create lasting change without thoughtful, effective implementation. The challenges include lack of inclusive curriculum design, lack of accessible materials, lack of assistive technologies, inadequate teacher training and professional development, and adaptive assessment method. Now, my contribution and my work on visual impairment. Having outlined the systemic barriers faced by learners with visual impairment in STEM education, next are my contribution and body of work in this field. Over the years, my research, innovation, and collaborative initiative have sought to bridge this gap by developing inclusive pedagogies, assistive technologies, and evidence-based strategies to improve accessibility and participation. This section highlights key milestones, publications, projects that reflect my commitment to equity in STEM education and demonstrate the transformative potential of sustained research advocacy and innovation. My contributions address these challenges comprehensively. My early research findings. In 1994, Adelakun 1994 conducted research on the impact of using adapted materials to teach science to visually impaired students using thermoform paper to create tactile diagrams. Adelakun 2024 explored accessibility of the science curriculum for visually impaired students in southwestern Nigeria. Adelakun 2013 presented global strategies for teaching basic science in Nigerian schools to visually impaired students at the INTED conference in Spain. Adelakun 2013 published a directory of visually impaired professionals in the field of STEM. This was published in print and braille. This aimed to inspire and encourage visually impaired students by countering negative stereotypes. The insight was further shared in 2014 at the International Conference on New Perspectives in Science Education with a presentation titled Inspirations from Scientists and Engineers who are blind and visually impaired. Lessons to initiate a new direction for science education of blind students in Nigeria. My PhD research and findings. My PhD synthesized the observation from my previous research, identifying the following key issues. 1. STEM subjects are predominantly taught by sighted teachers. Special education teachers, particularly in resource rooms, are often trained in specific areas of special needs, making it difficult for them to support students outside their field. Even those trained in visual impairment education were not taught how to instruct BVI in STEM during their teacher training. Then C, teacher training colleges often fail to equip future educators with the necessary knowledge to teach STEM to BVI students. Many special education and subject teachers doubt the possibility of STEM to BVI students, thereby many discouraging them. There is a pervasive belief that BVI students should focus on art and pursue art courses in tertiary institutions. Then, a lack of accessible material, particularly for calculation, diagrams, and practical science. This hampers their education. Consequently, my thesis focused on the exploration and development of teaching resources to better include students with visual impairment in science and mathematics classes in southwestern Nigeria using an action research approach. So my PhD have many outputs. Specific ones are the STEM kit, the tactile diagrams. Then I evaluated the talking lab quest, STEM kit. STEM kit. This innovation was exhibited at an inclusive education conference in Uganda, attracting interest from multiple African countries. Then, unable to mass produce in Nigeria, I sent the prototypes to China for development. This led to the creation of the STEM kit, which is now copyrighted and is being marketed by my NGO, Science and Technology for Nigeria Persons with Special Needs Initiative. Then tactile diagrams. A cornerstone of my work is the development of tactile diagrams. And this tactile diagrams is different from the existing one that is on the internet. STEM subjects rely heavily on visuals, creating barriers for BVI students. My tactile diagrams allow learners to explore microscopic organisms, atomic models, human anatomy, and complex mathematical concepts through touch, labeled in braille, and print for use by both BVI students and sighted teachers, thereby removing communication gap between the BVI students and the sighted teachers. In 2016, I presented the tactile diagram with braille and print labels in the Association for Education and Rehabilitation of Blind and Visually Impaired International Conference in Jacksonville, Florida. A gathering of professionals dedicated to the education and rehabilitation of visually impaired individuals. My presentation received high praise, with one attendee expressing astonishment at the novelty of my approach. And she said, "In fact, you are a genius. I have been supporting biology teachers for over 20 years, and I never thought we could do this," leading to a standing ovation. So still in my PhD, I evaluate, my research also evaluated the Talking Lab Quest, a tool that makes practical STEM education fully accessible to blind and visually impaired students. Findings demonstrated that the Talking Lab Quest enable approaches allow students to participate in STEM practicals at all levels. Then, Third Fund National Research Fund 2020. In 2020, I had the privilege of being the first in our college to access the 10th Fund National Research Fund for a project titled Technologies to Increase Access of Blind and Visually Impaired Students to Science, Technology, Mathematics in Nigeria. We developed new resources and tested existing ones. Part of the one we developed is the equation format converter, which is a software. One of the major outputs of the NRF 2020 grant is the successful design and deployment of the equation format converter software. The tool enables blind and visually impaired users to access and interact with mathematical equations in Word documents by converting them into ASCII equivalent. The EFC features a simple user-friendly interface that allows users to upload Word files, automatically convert embedded equation into accessible format. This is already hosted in a domain where users can download and install on their system. We also produce tactile braille textbooks for diagrams in mathematics and science. And the tactile diagrams is compiled into the textbooks, which means that whenever the teacher is teaching in an inclusive classroom, the blind and visually impaired can as well use the tactile diagrams textbook while the sighted students are using the normal textbook. Then we also develop teaching resources using 3D printer and 3D. Then we conducted training and professional development. Our research emphasizes the importance of training stakeholders, including lecturers and teachers and students. However, this training is just the beginning. Ideally, all staff in our education institutions should have a background in special education, similar to the UNESCO Birmingham program, which offers diploma, masters, and MPhil. This will enhance the quality of lectures. Then I come back to my NGOs. I am privileged to be the founder of 4 charitable organizations, 3 in Nigeria and one in the United Kingdom. Each dedicated to transforming education for individuals with special educational needs. These organizations are deeply rooted in my research journey for equity in education and vision of world where no learner is left behind. Together they form a powerful platform for research translation, community engagement, and policy advocacy. I welcome partnership, collaborations, and funding opportunities to expand the impact. The organization are Science and Technology for Special Needs Initiative. That one is the UK organization. Adeyinka Foundation, Initiative for English Remediation for Students in Nigeria, then Science and Technology for Nigeria Person with Special Needs Initiative. Those three are the Nigerian, and for all of them, my phone number is the contact 08035831719. Okay. Closing remark on the NGOs. These four organizations are more than charities. They are research-driven vehicles for social change. Each initiative is grounded in evidence from my research, inspired by life experiences of marginalization, and dedicated to breaking barriers to students with disabilities and learning. I invite government, donors, and vision-aligned partners to collaborate and invest in these organizations. Together we can deliver on the promise of inclusive education and change the narrative for millions of learners who are too often